next thing I want to talk about is eliminating bad behaviors. We've talked about establishing new behaviors, and this is an important part of eliminating bad behaviors. Because again, remember rule number 1, all dogs do what works for them. So a lot of times when we eliminate bad behaviors, instead of focusing on what we don't want the dog to do, we need to teach them what we do want them to do. Such as, if you're trying to eliminate the behavior of jumping up, don't focus on the fact that your puppy's jumping up to get attention. Teach him that he should sit to get that attention instead. So teaching these new behaviors is an important part of eliminating the bad behaviors. The most important way to eliminate bad behaviors is to ensure that you take away the payoff, because all dogs do what works for them. Your dog is only doing these bad behaviors because there's some sort of payoff that's working for them. So first step in eliminating these behaviors is to think about what the payoff is your dog's getting. Typically it's going to be one of a couple of things. One is mental stimulation. A lot of dogs get very bored, and when they get bored they're going to make up their own jobs to do in order to give them mental stimulation. Well, big way to eliminate behaviors that are caused by that is by giving them some things to do that are going to satisfy their brain. I'm giving you a sheet of boredom busters, and I'm going to demo a few of them for you here in just a little bit. But if you can meet your dog's needs for physical and mental stimulation before they need to demand that they be met, these behaviors that you see because of that will be eliminated. The behaviors you tend to see because of that tend to be destructive chewing. A lot of times you'll see mouthing and nippiness. You will also see maybe barking or digging, or behaviors that you'll see because your dog is getting bored or is not getting the mental and physical energy burns that they need. Meeting your dog's needs for mental and physical stimulation, something I want you to keep in mind is, if you go for a run, like a 1-mile run, or you get on a treadmill for a little while, that's just mindless physical stimulation. Now, once you get off of the treadmill or you come back from running, you can sit down and get a drink of water and rest for just a few minutes, and then you're ready to get up and go again. You're feeling pretty good. Now, on the flip side of that, you can do 0 physical stimulation and sit down and prepare a report or remove a virus from the computer or do something that is mentally taxing on you, and you are drained the whole rest of the day and you want to take a nap. That mental stimulation, that mental energy burn took so much more out of you than what the physical does. So keep this in mind. It works the same way for your puppy. The mental stuff is going to take a lot more out of your puppy energy-wise than what the physical stuff does. And so it's very important that you give not just physical stimulation, the mindless running, going for walks, fetch games, things like that, but it's also very important that they get the mental stimulation that goes with it.
I'm going to show that game I was talking about a little bit earlier with the boredom busters. Basically what this is a game that burns not only physical energy but also mental energy. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this toy and I'm going to make it run away from her on this leash. Now you can see it burns good physical energy because she's having to chase it. But she's also having to think about where this toy is going to be and try to time it out in order to catch it. Now in order for this game to be fun and satisfying, you do occasionally have to let them catch the toy. Now if you keep it still for just a second in order to kill it and tear it up, they're going to let go of it and you can make it run away again. Oh, good girl. But this is a great way when your puppy's feeling a little bit mouthy, or if it's a rainy day and your puppy just needs an extra energy burn. This is a great way to take that mouthing behavior that they do to burn off that energy and get you to interact with them and channel it in an appropriate way. Good girl, Cashew. Cashew. Good girl. Good girl.
One of the other reasons why your dog is going to do bad behaviors is in order to get attention. Of the top 2 reasons, this is probably 75 to 80%, maybe even up to 90% in some cases of the bad behaviors that you're going to see from your puppy is trying to get attention from you. This is going to be trying to initiate play. Usually the jumping up behaviors, mouthing behaviors, nipping behaviors, occasionally barking behaviors, all come because your puppy's trying to get attention from you. So when you take away this payoff, you need to ignore the bad, reward the good. So we're going to ignore the bad behaviors from your puppy, and then we're going to reward them for good behaviors that then should earn the attention that he's after. Now, I'm in the real world with you and I have kids too, so I realize it's absolutely impossible for me to say, yeah, I know the puppy's jumping up on you, just ignore it. I know the puppy's mouthing, just ignore it. So what we do is something called timeout. Timeout basically is a way to facilitate being able to ignore your puppy, where they cannot just demand that you pay attention to them. Now, With timeout, what we're going to use is a physical barrier that prevents our puppy from being able to get to us to force us to pay attention to him, like a baby gate, a crate, a door, a leash, a fence, anything that we need to use. I use a leash a lot of times in the beginning, but with the leash, I'm able to instantly take away attention for bad behaviors and instantly give attention for good behaviors. So I can take a leash, let the puppy drag it around, and either stand on the leash when the puppy is trying to jump up, or I can hook it to a doorknob. Something like that. And then when the puppy's being obnoxious and wild and crazy, I can back up just out of range and totally ignore the puppy. So I'm taking away what it is he wanted. Then as soon as the puppy's calm and tries a different behavior, usually the one that he's going to throw out at you is sit or lay down because he's pouting. He'll throw out sit because it's a command that he's learned, earns him rewards. So once the puppy throws a temper tantrum, maybe a little hissy fit, he'll finally give up on that and then he'll sit. Well, as soon as he sits or lays down, you immediately move forward and reward him for having done that. Well, if as you move forward he gets crazy and wild again, then you back off again and instantly take away the attention for the wild behavior. Now your puppy will learn very, very quickly that the way to get what he wants from you, which is the attention, is to be calm. If he's wild and crazy, you're going to back up and ignore him. If he's calm and laid back, then you're going to come forward and give him the attention. And this is by far the most effective way to deal with these attention-seeking nuisance behaviors. The two topics we've just covered on eliminating bad behaviors work really well when your dog is either bored or if your dog is seeking attention from you. Now, if the bad behaviors your dog is doing is for a reason other than those two, then we need to tackle it in a different manner. Now, sometimes the thing that we'll need to do eventually is going to be to do corrections. Now, I do not usually recommend corrections on puppies, and the reason is every time you give a puppy a correction, you bring down their confidence just a little bit. And it's really important when they're young to give them confidence and to teach them what you want them to do rather than correcting them a whole lot. However, some puppies do need to be corrected. Now, also depending on the situation, if you've got young kids in the house that are not able to do, say, timeout or some of the other things for attention, it is okay to let them do a correction. And one of my favorite things to recommend to do is to give them like a squirt gun or a water bottle. Now, obviously, you would give some really good instructions with that to make sure the puppy doesn't just get sprayed constantly and to make sure your whole house doesn't end up saturated. But spraying with water is a really good way to distract from, say, jumping up. If a puppy's jumping up and then you spray them with water, it's a good way to kind of draw their attention off of that and then reward them for the good behavior that they do afterwards. Other ways to do corrections, you have spray with water. There's things called remote corrections, which are a way to take away the payoffs for doing bad behaviors. The carpet runners work really well to keep them off the furniture, off the counters, or to use as a barrier to keep them from getting in the trash or things like that. Because if you put that spiky side up, it's a very uncomfortable feeling on your dog's feet and on their body. So when they jump up on the couch, it's not comfortable to be on the couch. So it takes away the payoff for that without you having to be there and without associating the correction with you. So these are some things that work really well. Double-sided tape also works really well. However, pay attention to the weight of the tape. Double sticky tape comes heavy enough to hang small pictures to a wall, or also heavy enough to hold carpet or tile down to the floor. Obviously, you don't want to use tape that's so heavy that you're permanently going to stick your puppy to the counter or to the door or something like that. So be really careful with that. There are also some sprays that deter your dog from chewing and doing things like that. However, always remember that anytime your dog's doing these bad behaviors, that a lot of times is his way of telling you that he has a need that needs to be met. So always the best way to deal with any of these behaviors is to back up and meet those needs before he needs to demand them by doing the bad things.